The 6th of May, 1899, Volume 2. Louisa looks for Jesus amid the angels. This morning, Jesus hardly made himself seen. I was feeling my mind so confused that I almost could not understand the loss of Jesus when I felt surrounded by many spirits. Maybe they were angels, I cannot tell with certainty. While I was in their midst, every now and then I would investigate, who knows, I might feel at least the breath of my beloved. But as much as I did, I found nothing that would reveal the presence of my loving good. Then, all of a sudden, I felt a sweet breath coming from behind my shoulders, and immediately I cried out, "Jesus, my Lord!" He answered, "Louisa, what do you want?" "Jesus, my beautiful one, come. Do not remain behind my shoulders, for I cannot see you. I have been waiting for you and investigating for the whole morning. Who knows, I might see you amid those angelic spirits that surrounded my bed. But I could not. Therefore I feel very tired, because I can find no rest without you. Come, for we will rest together." So Jesus placed himself near me and sustained my head. Those spirits said, "Lord, how quickly she recognized you, not even at your voice, but at your mere breath. Immediately she called you." Jesus answered, "She knows me, and I know her. She is so very dear to me, like the pupil of my eyes." And while he was saying this, I found myself in the eyes of Jesus. Who can say what I felt, being in those most pure eyes? It is impossible to manifest it with words. The very angels remained astonished. End of the reading. The 6th of May, 1906, Volume 7. God is food and life of the soul. Continuing in my usual state, Blessed Jesus came for just a little, with a loaf of bread in his hand, as if he wanted to refresh me, for I feel so ill because of his continuous privations that it seems that a mere thread of life keeps me alive, and that I would be reduced to ashes and consumed under this thread. Then after he refreshed me with that bread, he told me, "My daughter, the material bread is food and life for the soul, and there is no particle of the body which does not receive life from that bread. In the same way, God is food and life of the soul, and there must be no particle which does not take life and food from God, that is, animating all of oneself in God, nourishing one's desires in God, and making one's affections, inclinations, and love take life and food in God, in such a way as to enjoy no other food but God alone. But oh, how many let their souls feed on all sorts of filth." Having said this, he disappeared, and I found myself inside a church, and it seemed that various people were saying, curse you," as if they wanted to curse the blessed Lord, and also creatures themselves. I don't know how I comprehended all the weight of those maledictions, as though they signified the destruction of God and of themselves, and I cried bitterly because of these maledictions. Then I saw a priest celebrating at the altar as if he were our Lord, and coming into the midst of those who had uttered these maledictions, he said with a solemn and authoritative voice, "Maledicti, maledicti," at least 20 times or more. And while he was saying this, it seemed that many thousands of people would drop dead, some from revolutions, some from earthquakes, some in the fire, some in the water. It seemed to me that these chastisements were the precursors of nearing wars. I cried, and he, drawing near me, told me, "My daughter, do not fear, for I am not cursing you. On the contrary, I say to you, Benedicta, thousands and thousands of times cry and pray for these peoples. End of the reading. The 6th of May, 1926, Volume 19. How the ones who live in the divine will are the first in the eyes of God and form his crown. The divine will unites all who will live in it and the acts done in it as one single act. The origin of one who lives in it is eternal. I was fusing myself in the holy divine volition, according to my usual way, and I prayed the celestial Mama to be with me and to give me her hand so that, guided by her, I might requite my God with all the love, the adoration and the glory that everyone owes him. Now, while I was saying this, my beloved Jesus moved in my interior and told me, "My daughter, you must know that the first before the Supreme Majesty are those who have lived in my volition and who have never gone out of my will. My mama came to the world after 4,000 years, yet in the eyes of God, she came before Adam. Her acts, her love, are in the first order of creatures. Therefore, her acts come before all the acts of creatures, because she was the closest to God, bound to him with the tightest bonds of sanctity, of union, and of likeness. By living in our will, her acts became inseparable from ours, and being inseparable, these acts are the closest, as something natural to her Creator. Before and after do not exist in our will, but everything is first act. Therefore, one who lives in our will, even if she came as last, comes always before everything. So it is not the era in which souls come out to the light of time that will be considered, but whether the life of my will has been in them as centre of life, reigning and dominating in all of their acts, just as it reigns and dominates in the womb of the divinity. These will be the first. Their acts done in our will rise above all the acts of the other creatures, and all will remain behind. Therefore, these souls will be our crown. See, as you are calling my mama in my will to give me return of love, of adoration, and of glory, my will united the two of you together, and the love, the glory, the adoration which the sovereign queen did have become your acts, and yours have become those of my mama. My will placed everything in common. The one has become inseparable from the other, and I heard in you the voice of my mama, her love, her adoration, her glory. And in my mama, I heard your voice, loving me, adoring me, glorifying me. How happy I felt in finding and hearing the mama in the daughter and the daughter in the mama. My will unites everyone and everything. It would not be true living in my will, nor a work of my will, if it did not centralize everything that belongs to it and all of its eternal works in the soul who lives in it, in whom it has its kingdom and dominion. If it were not so, the kingdom of my will would be a divided kingdom, which cannot be, because my will unites all its works together and makes of them one single act. And even though it is said that it creates, it redeems, it sanctifies, and so on, these are the effects of that single act, which never changes its action. Therefore, the origin of one who lives in my will is eternal, inseparable from her Creator and from all those in whom my will has had its kingdom and its dominion. End of the reading. The 6th of May, 1928, Volume 24. The children of the divine will shall not touch the earth. Bitternesses of Jesus. The electric wire. According to my usual way, I was all immersed in that divine fiat that more than sun shines in my poor soul, and my always lovable Jesus, moving in my interior, told me, "My daughter, my love toward the children of my will be such and so great that I will not permit that they touch the earth. I will lay my steps under their feet, so that if they walk, they may touch my steps, not the earth, in such a way as to feel within them the life of my steps, that will communicate the life of the steps of my divine will to the steps of the children of my will. If they work, they will touch of my works, that lining up will communicate the virtue of my will to their works. If they speak, if they think, they will feel the life of my words and of my thoughts, that investing them will communicate the virtue of my fiat to their minds and thoughts. So I myself will be the carrier of the children of my will. I will be very jealous that they may not touch anything, so that they may take part in nothing and may feel my life flow continuously within them, forming the life of the eternal will in theirs. Therefore they will be the most beautiful works of my creative hands. Oh, how the work of creation will be reflected in them. They will be the triumph of my redemption. Everything shall triumph in them. And then I will be able to say, my works are complete, and I will take rest in the midst of the children of my supreme fiat. Then after I wrote what is written in these past days, my mind was molested by fears and doubts that it might not be true that blessed Jesus had told me so many things, but rather they were the fruit of my imagination. And I said to myself, if it was not Jesus that spoke to me, these will be writings without life, because only when Jesus speaks does life run within his word. And as I write, the life of the truths that Jesus has told me remains in them, in such a way that those who will read them will feel the communicative virtue of a life that is being infused in them, and will feel transformed into the very life of the truth that they will read. But if it is not Jesus, these will be writings without life, empty of light and goods. So why make the sacrifice of writing? Now, while I was thinking of this, my sweet Jesus came out from within my interior, and placing his head close to mine with an air of sadness, told me, "My daughter, you embitter my feast. In fact, when I manifest the truth, I do it because I want to celebrate with the creature. And if she does not have full trust in me and begins to doubt, the feast is interrupted and turns into bitterness. I act like one of two close friends who, loving his friend very much, wants to pour what his heart contains into the heart of his friend. And as he entrusts to him his secrets and his hidden joys, he makes him aware of everything he possesses. But the friend who is listening shows he does not believe him and begins to doubt what his friend is telling him. This person embitters his friend and turns his outpouring into bitterness. And so, grieving, he almost regrets his entrustment, and full of bitterness, he withdraws. On the other hand, if his friend believes him, not only does he not embitter him, but he takes part in his goods. Together they celebrate the joys that his friend possesses, and their friendship remains bound with double bonds of love. So I am, or rather more than, friend, loving so much her whom I have chosen as my little secretary. I want to pour my heart out and entrust to her my secrets, my joys, my hidden sorrows, my surprising truths, to celebrate together and to communicate to her so many divine lives for as many truths as I keep manifesting to her. If I see that she believes me, I celebrate and I put out and in feast the joys and the happiness that a divine life can possess, that possesses the infinity of all goods, and the soul is filled and celebrates together with me. But If I see her hesitant, I remain embittered, and she remains empty of the life that I would like to entrust to her. You often repeat to me these scenes of distrust. So be attentive and do not want to turn my joys into bitternesses. I remained all confused and did not know what to answer. After this, I continued my round in the divine will, and my sweet Jesus added, "My daughter, as the soul enters into my will, she puts her electric wire in it that extends up to the point at which one wants to form light. In fact, the light is not formed where the wire is put, but where it ends, concentrating the electricity of light into a light bulb. Now, as the human will enters into mine, at the reflections of the sun of my fiat, it converts into light and forms its little light, and the electricity of my will extends the wire of the human will and forms its little light, more than light bulb, at the point where the soul would like to reach before God. And God, on seeing the little light of the human will, invests it, and with the electricity of his divine light, he converts it into sun and forms the most beautiful ornament for his divine throne. It is so beautiful and delightful to see that the soul from the earth, on entering my divine will, puts in it her electric wire for heaven and extends so much as to reach its centre, which is God, forming his adornment of light, and to see these lights converted into sun. End of the reading. The 6th of May, 1934, volume 33, prime purpose of the redemption, to restore the life of the divine will in the creature. How God does the minor things in order to give a place for his greater works. I am under the very high ways of the divine fiat, such that things and all its divine acts make one see and touch with his hand all that have origin in the divine volition, and all are bearers of a volition so holy. In fact, the primary objective of God, as much in the creation as in the redemption, was nothing other than his purpose, that his palpitating life of divine will form in each creature and in everything. He wanted his royal palace and the transfusion of all things and of each act into his will, and with justice and with reason, he being the author of everything and everyone. Why marvel that by right he wants his place in everything? So I followed the divine will in its acts, and I arrived at redemption. And my beloved Jesus, stopping me and sighing, told me, "My daughter, and yet the primary object of the redemption in our divine mind was to restore the kingdom of the divine will in the creature. It was this of the divine that we had placed in her, our operating will, the most noble, this beautiful act, and that in virtue of this we loved the creature even to folly, because she had of ours. We loved ourselves in her, and therefore our love was perfect, full, and incessant, and as if we could not undo ourselves from her. We felt our will itself, that from within the creature, imposed us to love her. And if I descended from heaven to earth, it was the empire, the power of my fiat that called me, because it wanted its rights and its noble and divine act to be restored and placed in safety. The order would have been lacking, and we would have acted against nature if, descending from heaven, I would have placed the creatures in safety, and our will, that which is of the divine, our most beautiful act placed in them, beginning, origin, and end of everything, was not placed in safety, and its kingdom in them restored to them. But who is it that does not think of first saving himself and then the others? No one. And if one cannot save himself, it is a sign that he will not have either the virtue or the power of saving others. By restoring the kingdom of my will in the creature, I did the greatest act, the act that only a God can do, that is, to place in safety my own life in the creature. And saving myself, everyone was placed in safety. There were no more dangers, because they had a divine life in their power, in which they would have found all the goods that they needed. Therefore, but my redemption, my life, my sufferings, my death will serve to dispose creatures for such a good and as preparation for the great portent of the kingdom of my will in the human generations. And if they still do not see the fruits, the life of it, this says nothing, because in my humanity there is the seed, the life of my fiat. Therefore, this seed possesses the virtue of forming the long generation of so many other seeds in the hearts, in order to regenerate in them the renewal of the life of my will in the creatures. So there is no act done by the Supreme Being that does not come forth from our will. And so much is its love that it places itself as life in our act. And as life, it demands its rights, that it wants to develop its life. Therefore, how could I come to redeem if I did not restore these rights to my will? These rights, in order to come to redeem, were restored in my celestial mother and in my humanity, and only because it first had these rights could I come to redeem. Otherwise, I would not find either the way or the place for where to descend, and my humanity contracted with it by way of sufferings to restore to it these rights, to make it reign in due time in the human family. Therefore you pray, and united with me, do not spare the sacrifice of your life for a cause so holy and divine, and for love more heroic and great towards all creatures. So I remained worried by what was written above, and I thought to myself, how can it be that while he says that his primary objective of his coming on earth was to establish the kingdom of the divine will, although the redemption was connected together, still the fruits of the redemption are seen abundantly, and those of his reigning fiat one sees almost nothing yet? And Jesus added, my daughter, it would be absurd and against the divine order to not give the primacy of our will, as indeed we give it. I can say that the kingdom of my divine will first began in my celestial mother, then in my humanity itself, that possessed all the fullness of the supreme will, and then the redemption came. And since I am the Queen of Heaven, in virtue of this kingdom that we possessed in its full vigour, represented the whole human family as heads in order to reunite all the scattered members, therefore redemption could come. It was truly from within the kingdom of my will that the redemption came forth. If I and my mother did not possess it, it would have been a dream and would have remained in our divine mind. Now, being the head, the king, the saviour, and the true sanctifier of mankind, the members have the right to what there is in the head. The children have the right of inheriting what the mother possesses. Behold, therefore, the redemption. The head wants to heal the members and bind them by way of sufferings and death, in order to enjoy in them the virtues of the head. The mother wants to reunite the children, make herself known, in order to constitute them heirs of what she possesses. Behold the necessity of time, in a way that the redemption as prime act came forth from the kingdom of my will, and the redemption will serve as powerful means in order to communicate to the members of the kingdom that the head possesses. Both will give each other a hand. And then, if I love so much, I insist that in all things creatures have for sole beginning my will alone. Then I, who possess the life of it, and who must descend from heaven to earth, and who it cost me so much, should I not give the primacy to my will? Ah, my daughter, this says that it is not thoroughly understood, while one act of my will has more value than all the creatures united together. And it is so very certain that redemption had life from my will, while redemption did not have the virtue of giving life to my will. My fiat is eternal. It had no beginning, either in eternity or in time, while the redemption had its beginning in time. And since my volition had no beginning, and it is the only one that can give life to everything, so it possesses by nature its primacy over everything. And there is nothing that we do not have our primary objective, that our will have its dominating, operating, and reigning life. But you say that the fruits of redemption are seen, while one sees nothing of the kingdom of the divine will. This says that they do not understand our divine ways. We do the minor things in order to give a place to our greater works and in order to bring about our primary objective. Listen to me, my daughter. In creation, our primary purpose was man, but instead of creating man first, we created heavens, sun, sea, earth, air, winds as dwelling for where to place this man and let him find everything that was needed in order to let him live. In the very creation of man, first we made the body and then infused in him the soul, more precious, more noble, and that contains more value than the body. Many times it is necessary to first do the minor works in order to prepare the decency, the place for our greater works. Why marvel, therefore, that in descending from heaven to earth, in our divine mind, our primary objective was to constitute the kingdom of our will in the midst of the human family? Even more because the first offence that man made us was really directed to our will. Therefore, with justice, our first objective must be directed to strengthening the offended part of our will and to restoring its royal palace to it. And then the redemption came. And the redemption came in a superabundant way, with such excesses of love as to astonish heaven and earth. But why first? Because it had to serve to prepare with decency, with decorum, with sumptuousness, with the trousseau of my sufferings and of my death itself, as kingdom, as army, as dwelling, and as cortege, to let my will reign. In order to heal man, my sufferings were needed. In order to give him life, my death was needed. And yet one tear of mine, one sigh of mine, one single drop of my blood would have been enough in order to save everyone, because everything that I did was animated by my supreme will. I can say that it was my will in my humanity that ran in all my acts, in my most excruciating sufferings, in order to seek man and place him in safety. How, therefore, can one deny the primary purpose to a volition so holy, so powerful, that embraces everything, and in which there is no life, no good without it? So it is absurd to even think it. Therefore, I want that in all things you recognize it as the prime act of everything. Therefore, I want that in all things you to recognize it as the prime act of everything. So you will place yourself in our divine order, that there is nothing in which we do not give the primacy to our will. End of the reading. The 6th of May, 1937, volume 34. How Jesus does not know what to do with a soul who does not possess peace. God makes a gift of all his works and also his own life to the one who lives in the divine volition, in order to let her see how much and how he wants to be loved. My abandonment in the divine volition continues. My poor mind, oppressed because of the incidents of life so sorrowful for me, sought my refuge in the centre of the fiat, in which I feel myself reborn to new life, rejuvenated, remade from my sorrowful stops. But as I move away from its centre, my oppressions rise again, so much as to feel the just reproaches of my dear Jesus, even to his telling me, "My daughter, take care, because I do not know what to make of a soul who is not peaceful. Peace is my celestial dwelling. The little bell that with its vibrating and sweet sound calls my volition to reign is peace. Peace possesses voices so powerful that it calls the whole of heaven, places it at attention in order to let it be spectator of the beautiful conquests of the operation of the divine volition in the creature. Peace puts to flight the fearful tempests and makes arise the celestial smile of the saints, the most beautiful enchantment of a springtime that never ends. Therefore, do not give me this sorrow of not seeing you in peace." So I sought as much as I could to dive into the divine volition in order not to feel myself any more, following its acts as much as creation as those of redemption. And my beloved Jesus invested my intellect, and with his creative voice all love, he told me, "My blessed daughter, leave yourself and come into my will. We feel the extreme need of making known where our love reaches for the one who lives in it. And so much is our love that with anxiety await that she unites herself, identifies herself with our works, in order to give her the right as if they were hers. And since our creative strength is always in act, as she identifies herself with us, as if we were renewing our works, we make a gift to her, and we tell her, they are your works. Do what you want with them. With our works in your power, you can love us as much as you want. You can give us glory in an infinite way. You can do good to whomever you want. You take the right not only over our works, but over He who has created everything. And we take the right over you because you are already ours. How sweet are these rights of the human littleness in our divine being. They are sweet and loving chains that make us love our creative work with a more intense and stronger love. And in our emphasis of love, we keep repeating, "How beautiful she is! She is ours, all ours, and we are all hers. Nothing else remains for us than to love each other. We will love her with eternal love, and she will love us with eternal love." I remained surprised, as if I would want to place doubt. And Jesus added, "Daughter, do not marvel. It is the pure truth that your Jesus tells you, that wanting to be loved, he wants to make known where the creature can reach and how much he loves her. As if not content with our interminable joys, we want the contentment that she would possess what we possess, and she would love us as we know how to love. See, for one who lives in our divine volition, she is as connatural. She finds our fiat in the act of creating the sky, the sun. She unites herself to that act in order to do what it does. So much is our goodness that with the union we have formed the marriage together. And in our volition, we have formed the decided act of giving the sky, the sun, as gift to the creature. With this gift, she gives us the glory of an extended sky. She loves us in every part of it. She does good to the creatures by letting them possess and enjoy a sky. And since she has the sun in her power, she gives us the glory that the terrestrial globe possesses light. Every man who remains invested by the light and heat of the sun is one more glory that she gives us, one little sonata of love that she makes us, that enraptures our love to love even more. Every plant, every fruit and flower, fecundated and warmed by her heat, is one more cry of glory and love that she gives us. The little bird that sings at the rising of the sun, the little lamb that bleats, are all accents of glory and love that she sends us. And the merit of so many goods that the sun does to the earth that are incalculable, for whom are they? For the one who lives in our volition. In it, what is ours is hers. And since we have no need of merits, having made a gift of them, we leave the meritorious part to her. And for exchange, we want her cry of love, always and in everything. And the same for the good that all created things do, the wind, the water, the air, and everything. So I, in hearing this, not only remained marvelling, but I wanted to make many difficulties. And passing to the acts of redemption, I found myself immersed in his sufferings. And my always lovable Jesus, perhaps to convince me, made himself seen in my interior in the act of suffering the sorrowful crucifixion. I took part of his sufferings, and I died together with him. His divine blood flowed, his wounds were open, and he, with a tender and moving accent, as to feel my heart burst, told me, I am within you, I am yours, I am at your disposition. My wounds, my blood, all my sufferings are yours. You can do with me what you want, rather to do as magnanimous, as brave, as lover, as my true imitator. Take my blood, in order to give it to whomever you want. Take my wounds, in order to heal the wounds of sinners. Take my life, in order to give the life of grace, of sanctity, of love, of divine will to all souls. Take my death, in order to make many souls dead in sin rise again. I give you all the freedom. Do it. Know how to be my daughter. I have given myself, and that is enough. You think of making everything redound to my glory, and of how to make me beloved. My will give you the flight in order to make you bring my blood, my wounds, my kisses. No, my will give you the flight in order to make you bring my blood, my wounds, my kisses, my paternal tendernesses to my children and to your brothers. Therefore do not marvel. This is truly the divine operation, to keep its works in the act of repeating them continuously in order to give them, so as to make of them a gift to the creatures. Each one can say, everything is mine, even God is mine. How we enjoy in seeing them gifted with our works, possessors of their Creator. They are the excesses of our love, that in order to be loved, we want to make touched how much we love them and the gifts we want to give them. Then for one who lives in our volition, if we do not make a gift of everything to them, we feel as if we would defraud the creature, and this we do not know how to do. Therefore be attentive. Let your soul be embalmed by our divine peace, because we do not know what disturbance is. And all things will bring you the smile, the sweetness, the love of your Creator. End of the reading. The 6th of May, 1938, Volume 36. Desiring it and taking the first steps are all that is needed to live in the divine will. How the divine will possesses the generative life and generates endlessly when it reigns. Inseparability of the works of our Lord from one who lives in his will. My poor mind is crowded with thoughts regarding the divine will. These thoughts seem like many messengers that bring lots of news about this will so holy. I was surprised. And my sweet Jesus coming back to his little daughter, all goodness said. My good daughter, it is very easy to enter my will, since your Jesus never teaches difficult things. My love makes me adapt to human capabilities so that the creature can do with no difficulty what I teach and what I want. You must know that the first indispensable thing in order to enter my fiat is wanting and firmly yearning to live in it. The second thing is to take the first step, since once the first step is done, my divine will surrounds the creature with so much light and attraction that she loses any desire to do her own will. In fact, as soon as she takes a step, she feels powerful. The night of passions, weaknesses, miseries is turned into day, into divine strength. So she feels the irresistible need to take the second step, which calls for the third one, the fourth, the fifth, and so on and on. These are the steps of the light that embellishes the creature, sanctifies her and makes her happy, that puts her on the right way, making her similar to her Creator, to the extent that not only does she feel the extreme need to live in my will, but she also feels it as inseparable from herself as her own life. See then how easy it is. But wanting is necessary. My paternal goodness wants it too, always present in my will with grace, love, and goodness. Since I also want it, I add my contribution, my own life if necessary, to give her all the help and the means, even my own life, as her own, in order to make her live in my will. I don't hold anything back when it comes to making a creature live in my will. My daughter, our love is so great that we fix different degrees of beauty and sanctity to adorn the soul in our will. We will make these souls different from one another, distinct in their beauty, sanctity, and love, but all beautiful, all unique. Some will remain in the sea of our light and will enjoy the goods of my will. Others will remain under the action of my operating light. These will be the most beautiful ones, with all our creative art and operating action. As we find the creature in our will, we can do whatever we want. She will be ready to receive our creative power, and we will delight in creating new beauties, unseen sanctities, love that we've never given to others and which they could not receive because the life, light, and strength of our will was missing. We will hear in her our echo, the creative strength that always generates love and glory, the continuous repetition of our acts and of our life. This is the life of our fiat, to generate. And where it rains, it generates continuously, without ever ending, generates in us and keeps the life of the Most Holy Trinity, generates in the creature in which it reigns, generates our image, love, and sanctity. So we still have a lot to do in the work of creation. We have to reproduce our acts and works that will serve as the most beautiful ornament for our heavenly fatherland. After this, my mind got lost in the ocean of the fiat, which made me aware of everything, and all seemed to belong to me as well as to God. Then my beloved Jesus, almost suffocated in his flames of love, added, "My blessed daughter, one who lives in my will, has always been inseparable from her Creator. She was with us from all eternity. Our divine will brought her to our laps to love, court, and enjoy her. And since then we have felt her love palpitating in us, calling for the work of our creative hands, to make of her one of our best images. Oh, how much we delighted in finding in our will someone in whom we could express our creativity. Now you must know that since these souls that live and will live in our fiat are inseparable from us, They were coming down with me when I, the eternal Word, came down from heaven to earth in the excess of my love. They were guided by the heavenly Queen. They formed my people, my loyal army, my living royal palace, in which I was true king of these children of my divine will. I would never have come down from heaven without the court of my people, without a reign in which I could dominate with my laws of love. All the centuries are just like a point for us, in which everything is ours in action. Therefore, when I came down from earth as dominator and king of my children, I felt courted and loved, as only we can do, and my love was such that my children were all conceived together with me. I just couldn't be without them. I couldn't have tolerated not finding my loving children. So they grew with me in the womb of my divine mother. They were born together with me, cried with me, did everything I did. They walked, worked, prayed, and suffered together with me. And I can say that they were with me even on my cross, to die and rise again to new life for human generations. Therefore, the kingdom of our will is already established. We know its numbers, we know them all by name. We already feel them palpitating in ardent love. Oh, how much we love them and yearn for the time to deliver them into the daylight of our will on earth. Then the children of my volition will have in their power my conception, my birth, my steps, pains, and tears. They will be able to be conceived and born again as many times as they want. They will feel my steps and pains in theirs. Since in my will, my birth and life are repeated every instant, they can take them for themselves, give them to others, or do whatever they want. I know that they would never do what I do not want. These children of ours, born again, formed and fed by our will be the true glory of our creation. They will crown our creative work, placing the seal of their love in every created thing for the one who did all for them and loved them so much. End of the reading. There are no more readings today.